Hi students, this is Renu Rai. Today I am here with the topic conservation of biodiversity. So students, you might have come across the statement like biosphere reserves, wildlife sanctuary and national park very often, but it is very important to know the major differences about them. So now let us understand what are the basic differences between all these three. So biosphere reserve, it is a very large multi-purpose protected area in which many wildlife sanctuaries and national parks exist. Wherein national park are those reserved areas which are used for the preservation of the natural habitat, vegetation, wildlife and natural beauty of that region. And what about wildlife sanctuary? It is preserved. It is the preserved area for the protection of endangered species. Now, biosphere reserve, it is not specified by any parliamentary law, but derived from Man and Biosphere Reserve Program that is provided by UNESCO 1972. National parks are, their boundaries are fixed by the government. That is, it is specified by government. And in wildlife sanctuary, boundaries are not fixed by any government. In biosphere reserves, grazing is allowed, but only in specific zone. National park grazing is totally prohibited. In wildlife sanctuary, grazing is allowed. Biosphere reserve, this is not meant for any single species because it is a very large area, very big area, larger than all of them. So here the biosphere reserve is actually protected, or there is so many wildlife sanctuaries and national parks are there. People come to that biosphere reserve, they will do their certain activities, but in national park, this is also not meant for a single species. That means national park in which they are actually preserved for their natural beauty, their landscape, their historical moments, etc. But wildlife sanctuary may or may not be meant for single species because wildlife sanctuary is preserved for endangered species. So may or may not be single species are there. And there is some other differences. So, biosphere reserves is basically set up for the preservation of biodiversity, encourage of research, provide facilities for education, awareness and training so that people could understand about the beauty of biosphere reserve. National park is meant especially for the conservation of natural beauty, not for any specific endangered species, wherein wildlife sanctuaries, they are set up especially to preserve endangered species or rare species. Okay, students? Biosphere reserve, outer zone of biosphere reserves are allowed for people to live, own property and carry on with their traditional activities like cultivation, cutting of trees, taking firewood, etc. But in national park, people can only visit to the national park for their research, for their education with the permission of relevant authorities. In wildlife sanctuary also, people can visit to this sanctuary with the permission of relevant authorities. I hope students you understand and you came to know that what is the major difference between biosphere reserve, national park and wildlife sanctuary. Thank you students.